Welcome back to the LSU Transfer Room YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by Mohamed Fathalli, who is going to be doing an expert analysis on the new Liverpool manager, or soon to be new Liverpool manager, Arne Slot, who's joining from Feyenoord. So welcome to the channel, Mohamed. How are you feeling?
Thank you for having me, Anthony. Uh, yeah, feeling good. Hopefully, we'll have a good discussion here.
Absolutely. So if you haven't already, check him out on Twitter. And he's done an amazing thread already on Slot, which will be linked in the description if you want to check that out for yourselves in written format. Obviously, some people prefer the video format, which we're going to go straight ahead into. So, question number one, we're going to go into, could you give us a bit of a mini backstory into who Onslaught is? A lot of us Liverpool fans, I personally didn't even know who he was. A couple of days before it was sort of announced that we are going to be taking him on board as our new manager. So, who is he, and what kind of background does he have?
Yeah, so it's safe to say that Slot impressed with all the clubs he managed. Back in 2016, as an interim coach alongside Harshov, he took Campbell from 14th to 3rd place in the Dutch second division. He missed out on promotion in the playoffs, but he still led the club to its first ever Dutch Cup semi-finals, beating Ajax in the process. He then joined AZ Alkmaar as an assistant manager and then took over as a manager in 2019, where he challenged Ajax for the league title in his first campaign. However, his stint with Ajax was cut short in the second year, not because of poor results, but because he was negotiating a deal with Feyenoord. 10 days after his sacking, he was announced as Feyenoord manager for the 21-22 season. And he continued to punch above his weight, reaching the Conference League in his final in his first season, obviously winning the title in the second one, and he won the Dutch Cup this current campaign.
So how has this season been for Feyenoord? They've obviously won the Dutch Cup, but are second place in the Eredivisie at the moment.
Now, it's not that Feyenoord are having a bad season. It's PSV that blew everyone away, scoring 103 goals and conceding just 70. Feyenoord, despite being second, their underlying numbers suggest that they are even better than the last season where they won the title. They are doing quite well with the second best attack, scoring 80 goals, and the second best defense, conceding just 24. They are comfortably ahead of third place Twente with 12 points currently. It's the slow start they had with 2 consecutive draws in the first 2 games, and then the 2 losses and 2 draws against Twente and PSV that made them miss out on the title. Still, as I said, it's not a trophyless season for Slot. He won the Dutch Cup, beating PSV in the round of 16. Some might argue that they had a poor run in Europe, as they crashed out of the Champions League and Europa League. But their performances were not bad at all, especially against Atletico Madrid away. Even at home, they lost 3-1, but they conceded 2 own goals. So even luck wasn't on their side.
So it's quite obvious to see he's had a positive impact at Feyenoord, and the fans supposedly adore him. Why do you think Liverpool were so keen on him, though, specifically?
Well, it's his style of play. His teams are known for their intense pressing and counter-pressing alongside their dynamic attacking football. Even Feyenoord pressed in a 4-3-3 narrow shape, similar to Liverpool when they had Mane, Salah, and Firmino back in the day. Also, since taking over at Feyenoord, his team leads in several metrics in the Eredivisie. High turnovers, shot ending in goal, ending high turnovers, and ball recoveries in the final third. Now, I know the Eredivisie isn't the Premier League, but these numbers prove the similar principles both Slot and Klopp share. And with similar principles, a smoother managerial transition would happen. So that's why I think that Liverpool went for him.
Right, so you've touched on why Liverpool were so keen on him. But what were the key differences between Arne Slot and Ruben Amorim, which was sort of the deal breaker in Liverpool heading towards Feyenoord's current manager?
If Amorim had been appointed, I'm almost certain he would have brought his 3-4-3 formation to Anfield. Now, don't get me wrong, Amorim is a fantastic manager and he uses the 3-4-3 to great effect. But if you think about it, does this formation really suit Liverpool's current squad? Like, there's wealth of quality midfielders in Liverpool. And Amorim's style or system typically uses just two in a double pivot, Homeland and Hato, in front of the back three or back four back five when out of position. Now, most of Liverpool midfielders don't really fit the mold for the type of pivot Amorim prefers. Even if they do, who would you bench? So, and then there's another question about Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, Amorim doesn't usually employ an inverted fullback, so would Trent revert to his traditional overlapping role? See, there's too many questions when it comes to Amorim. Now, looking at Slot, he often employs a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-3-3 lineup or system, just like Klopp. He also likes to use inverted fullbacks, like he did with Tyrone Malacia before, and now with Gertrude at Feyenoord. Now, it's already a challenging situation with Klopp leaving, and introducing a completely different philosophy or system or style or lineup could complicate things even more. Now, there's another reason I believe Edwards and Liverpool chose Arne is that Slot was open to taking on the head coach role rather than a manager. For Amorim, there's a sense that he might have wanted more control than what Edwards was prepared to offer in his new structure. That's why I think Liverpool opted for Slot, because he was willing to work within this new structure set by Edwards.
So it's interesting stuff as to why Liverpool actually chose Arne Slot ahead of the other managers, specifically Ruben Amorim. But linking it to Jurgen Klopp, he's obviously going to take over such a huge role huge figure, I should say, in the past sort of decade in Liverpool's history, and a huge figure in our history just in general, not just the past 8 years. He's really made his mark, Jurgen Klopp has. Would there be any similar traits in terms of man management? Because Jurgen Klopp was very known to be a man of the people per se. Does Arne Slot also possess that trait?
At AZ Alkmaar, for instance, they last won the league in 2008 under Louis van Gaal, and they didn't come close to the title again until Slot took over in 2019. Feyenoord too, their last league win was in 2017, and they struggled to compete for the title before Slot's arrival. See, to quickly transform these sides into title contenders within a year or two, you need someone capable of convincing the players to buy into and commit to a new philosophy. Clearly, Slot has this ability, as he achieved significant success with both clubs without the luxury of massive resources like those available at Ajax and PSV. He knows how to assess his squad, work with what he has, and maximize his players' potential. And there are numerous examples of players developed by Slot and took to the next level. A prime example is Orkun Kökçü. Before Slot's arrival, Kökçü was perceived as a somewhat lazy young number 10, not fully realizing his potential. Slot, however, tweaked his role and played him as a number 8 or even a 6 at times, using his technical skills in deeper areas to evade pressure and contribute in the build-up phase. Slot even appointed Kökçü as a captain in his second year, which coincided with them winning the league. And you know what? Kökçü has been struggling in Benfica this season after his transfer under Schmidt. But he isn't the only player who struggled without Arne. Take, for example, Calvin Stengs. He thrived under Arne with AZ when they competed for the title, but then struggled with Nice in France and with Antwerp in Belgium. But this season, he's finding his form again after he reunited with Slot at Feyenoord. There are so many players that Slot developed and improved, from Malacia, Coop Miners, Wifa, Timber, Jimenez, like so many, Hartman, the left back. Basically, the core of the current Feyenoord team is developed and improved by Slot. So that says a lot about his man management style.
That's interesting, actually. I think a lot of Liverpool fans will agree. We've kind of got not a trend going on, but when a player tends to leave Liverpool, their careers don't necessarily go uphill. It's just straight downhill after that. Like, I guess you could say the same in terms of Klopp's man management. He brings the best out of people. I think Coutinho was the obvious one since he joined Barcelona. He was good for a season. Then he just kind of declined. Maybe it was just mentality. Same with Sadio Mane. I think he was towards the peak of his Liverpool career. Or he left towards the sort of down part of it. Ginny Wijnaldum's another one. He went to PSG,
Absolutely.
was sort of hated by fans. I wouldn't say hated,
Yeah.
but not as adored by fans. And there's a few more examples, but it's quite interesting that
Yeah.
that point was right. So we just touched on one key positive from Arne Slot's management style, which was obviously the man management part to his game. But what are the key positives would you say there is to his management style?
Personally, I think the key positive Slot might offer is introducing more control over how Liverpool plays. See, even before the recent poor run of results Liverpool had, they often didn't seem to have complete control over games. For example, the FA Cup game against United, or the league games against Brighton and Sheffield United. In situations where Liverpool were ahead, they needed to slow the game down, circulate possession, essentially bore their opponents. This kind of control prevents the opposition from gaining momentum, and it also gives your players a chance to get a breather during the actual games. However, in those matches, Liverpool continued to push forward, which often made the games riskier and more open. Now, I know this aggressive approach, is part of Klopp's philosophy, but having that sense of control is crucial, which is why Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta are still competing for the league, because they control games with and without the ball. Now, for Slot, he is said to be inspired by Pep, and he considers himself as a control freak. This is evident in the way Feyenoord plays, especially during their deep build-up phases. Now, yeah, the overall style is kind of similar, but Slot's build-up is more patient than Klopp's. He likes to maintain possession, sometimes even bait the press, break the lines with a sharp pass or a long ball, like kind of De Zerbi maybe. So this potential improvement and build-up patterns, in my opinion, is the most significant benefit Liverpool fans can look forward to with Slot's arrival.
So you brought up the positive side to his game, and we all, as Liverpool fans, we love Jurgen Klopp. We all know and want to talk about his positives, but he does have a few downsides to his management style, as you already mentioned, the lack of control in certain matches, which does end up costing us towards the end of the season. We've seen it numerous times. You know, we've lost out on 2 league titles by a point to Manchester City each time, albeit we did finish on ridiculous point tallies. Um, would you say there's any drawbacks to Arne Slot's style of management at the moment, or significant weaknesses?
Okay, so obviously the jump from the Eredivisie to the Premier League is a massive one. And moving to a club like Liverpool is even bigger, so he will have to adapt to life in England and the how hectic the schedule is and how intense the rhythm is in England. However, when it comes to the actual football, now we've talked about how Slot's style is similar to Klopp's. So the question is, will he be able to handle the trade-offs of this style? Now, he attacks in numbers, which makes his side vulnerable to transitions or counterattacks. For instance, Feyenoord conceded 2 goals against Heerenveen from counterattacks after playing 2 corner kicks. Stats also say that Feyenoord set second in the Eredivisie when it comes to defensive actions against that led to a shot. Now, his high pressing is thrilling and effective, but what happens when the initial line of press is bypassed? When out of position, Feyenoord often shifts to a 5-2-3 mid or low block, with one of the pivots or one of the wingers dropping back. This sometimes even morphs into a back six, as another midfielder drops very close to the defenders. Now, while this might make the team's last line more compact, it also creates gaps between the lines that opponents can exploit. And that is because the pressing during these mid blocks phases is somewhat passive compared to their high press. Now, this could be a tactical choice by Slot to conserve energy. However, if you mix this passive kind of pressing in midfield with the backline man marking the forwards, this makes it so easy for opponents to play that kind of war pass to the number 9 and then exploit the space with third man runs in behind. So take, for example, the goal they conceded in the third or fourth minute against PSV in their recent 2-2 draws. So yeah, his kind of out of position approach might raise some questions. It might have not costed him in the Eredivisie, but in the Premier League that might cause some problems.
Right. So as we mentioned at the beginning of the video, a lot of us Liverpool fans didn't really know who Arne Slot was or his background or anything about him. All we knew was he's bold, he's from Netherlands, and he's from the Dutch league. And we all thought instantly Eric Ten Hag. What would you say in terms of management style? Are they very similar? What key sort of similar traits or differences do they have? Are they similar at all? In fact, what would you say the differences, and are they similar at all?
When it comes to both managers, I think they have a completely different style. See, there's a misconception that Ten Hag has always been this position-based manager who likes to camp at the opposition half. While that was his style at Ajax at some point, partly because he had the players for it and because opposing Eredivisie teams often sat back against Ajax. But it's not his only method of play. See, at Go Ahead Eagles and Utrecht, and currently at United, he's adopting a more of a transitional kind of football, a more direct style. So he's a manager who adapts to the squad that he has and the ethos of the club he's with. He identified the United way as this transitional kind of football, and that's why they are more direct this season. For Slot, it's quite different because I believe that before he took over at Feyenoord, the club was known for its more of a pragmatic style under Dick Advocate, and he obviously changed that. Also, Slot is stepping into a much more organized structure at Liverpool than what Ten Hag had at United. In addition, the Liverpool squad is not only better than what Ten Hag inherited at United last season, but it's also already molded to fit this aggressive, entertaining style Slot prefers. So the only similarity that I see between the two managers is that they are workaholics, and that's it. Even even Slot's English is much better than Ten Hag. So yeah,
So, as a Manchester United fan, you're confirming on here that Slot is a better manager than Ten Hag.
yeah, not a better manager. See, I don't know, man. Ten Hag, there are so many questions. There are so many questions about Ten Hag. He is not a bad manager. I'm not saying that he is a bad manager. His choices and the circumstances that he had at United, completely, like his stubbornness, mate. He is so stubborn. Yes, to the point that I want him gone. I'm not lying, but he is not bad.
Fair
Just
enough.
things didn't work out. And by the way, I should have mentioned this in my answer. In the Netherlands, Slot is perceived as a better tactician than Ten Hag. So yeah, maybe he is the better manager. At least
Interesting.
for me, he is a better because that style of play is much better than the transitional style we are playing, which is awful.
So you mentioned in your previous answer, Liverpool already have a good squad, or they've certainly got a lot of world class players amongst them. You've got Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk, Alexander Arnold, Robertson, who's been on and off, but he's still got that world class ability in terms of playing at left back. You got Allison in goal. You got upcoming, I would say, world class potential players in Alexis McAllister. So Bosley perhaps has that potential if he can be unlocked and play as freely as he used to at RB Leipzig instead of playing that sort of box to box that Jurgen Klopp's currently got him doing. What would you say which specifically Liverpool players would sort of suit Arne Slot's system at the moment?
For me, I think that Trent Alexander-Arnold in particular will flourish under Slot's management. See, whether it's through patient build-up or by baiting the press, Slot relies on the inverted fullback to progress the ball through the phases. This player, who is Hertreda right now at Feyenoord, gives Feyenoord numerical superiority in central zones, which is crucial to progress the ball. Now, given how Slot utilizes the inverted fullback, I think that Trent's exceptional ball passing and carrying abilities in midfield would be crucial. Also, if he manages to maintain his fitness, I think that Konate can be a really, really, really good player for Slot. His physical presence, ability to cover ground, also his progressive passes are all attributes that Slot likes to have in his centre back. Now, as we said, the squad is kind of molded to fit this style. So even the younger ones like Conor Bradley, Jalek Wansa, Ryan Gravenberg, they all can have certain roles under Slot. However, I think that there's also Curtis Jones, who will play a significant role, in my opinion, on the Slot. His athleticism, his intelligence in triggering the press, the excellent ball retention. I think that he will maybe play the Quentin Timber role of being a box-to-box midfielder in the Slot. Now, when it comes to wingers, Slot prefers the wingers to be specialists in 1v1 situations. He wants them to be able to outpace and outpower their markers. Now, obviously, Diaz and Salah are more than capable to do that. Even Darwin, I wrote a thread suggesting that if Slot can't fix Darwin's finishing, then maybe he should use him as a left winger, because he causes so much trouble on that left wing. However, especially now after the recent reports that he has a release clause with his club, I think that Liverpool should be targeting Mohamed Kudus from West Ham. He is a pressing monster, and I think he's the first player in the top 5 European leagues to reach 100 take-ons this season. So yeah, if the price is right, I think the club should really make him a priority.
Absolutely. We'll probably touch on Mohamed Kudus in another video. Maybe you can bring Mohamed on for another expert analysis to analyse that West Ham winger. I think his name has been flying about quite a bit recently. David Ornstein recently said this morning, as on 3rd of May, that Liverpool are not specifically interested in Kudus, but it wouldn't surprise him if he is on their radar. And it wouldn't surprise many of our fans. We were linked with him before whilst he's at Ajax, so certainly want to keep an eye on. But moving on, so you've mentioned all these players who could fit on Slot's managerial style. You got the wingers, Mohamed Salah, Luis Diaz, Alexander Arnold specifically, and Curtis Jones. I was surprised you mentioned his name, to be fair, but Curtis Jones, another one. So moving on, this is going to be the final question of the video. If you've got any other questions you want to drop to Mohamed, then be sure to follow him on Twitter and send it through to him as well. Or check out his thread, maybe he's already analysed it. So which players of the current Liverpool crop can you not see fitting into Arne Slot's managerial style?
Honestly, it would be unfair to single out any players as unfit for Slot's system at Liverpool, because as we said, the squad is tailored to go with his style. However, if I had to make the choice, this might not go down well with some people, but Robertson maybe. See, I'm not saying that he does not fit the style. Obviously, he's been playing this intense, aggressive football for years now, and he's been a pillar for Klopp's football. But maybe that's the reason why I picked him, because now he's 30 years old, I think. And after all these years of playing in that similar style, now will he be able to continue to do so on the Slot? Also, there's another aspect that Slot uses the left back in a kind of hybrid way. He likes him to push forward, to stretch the opponent's back line, but also he uses him like a left center back during the build-up phase. Now, this season, Robertson kind of struggled when playing as a left center back. And I think that's why if I had to pick one, I'm not saying that he will not succeed on the Slot or he will not play, but if I had to pick one, maybe it's kind of, Robertson.
That's fair. I don't think anyone will be on your back for that, to be fair. I think Robertson's been a point of criticism for the past couple of seasons, I'd argue. I think there's times where he finds himself out of position a lot. And defensively, whilst people pick on Alexander Arnold, I think our right-hand side is targeted a lot anyway. And Alexander Arnold just so happens to be the right back, which is why it's so heavily criticised. But Robertson in particular, he gets caught out quite a bit defensively, and when someone hits a ball into the penalty area, he might not be marking his man. On the flip side, would you say Joe Gomez then suits Arne Slot starting 11 more than Robertson?
Yes. His versatility. He can play centre back, right back, left back. DM this season he played there. Slot likes that versatility, and the way Gomez shows up for the ball contributes to the build-up phase. Yeah, I think that Gomez would suit.
So that's our expert analysis done. We already had a part one to this from Lewis, who was part of the LC Transfer Room YouTube channel. He done part one, but this is just an extra bit of insight from Mohamed to be a part two. But you also have a part two expert analysis coming from Mohamed on the Feyenoord defender who we've been linked with, Gertrude. We're going to be releasing that one day after this comes out, so the next day. And thank you all for watching. Like I said before, be sure to follow Mohamed on his social media, or specifically on his Twitter. We're going to be linking that in the description, as well as his football page, Attacking Footy, Attacking Football. So be sure to check those out. Thank you to everyone for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next video.